What's going on, my fellow A-Plusers? Welcome back once again. It is I, your host, as always, Adam Perez, here with a brand new Star Wars video for you guys, ladies and gentlemen, as we're going to continue to get into our bag of Star Wars talk and really continue to highlight this brand new era of Star Wars that we're going to be focusing on in the High Republic. Now, for those who are, in fact, new to the High Republic, don't worry, because many of us certainly are. That's one of the wonderful things about this brand new era. We're all learning about it for the very first time, an era that is set 200 years prior to the Phantom Menace. Now, while we get the opportunity here on this channel to talk a ton of Marvel, DC, Power Rangers, movies, television shows, I wanted to find a nice little niche for my Star Wars fandom because I'm a huge fan of it. And so I decided to go ahead and start tackling some Star Wars canon novels. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Star Wars novels, maybe some comic books from time to time, but I thought this would be a really great opportunity considering the fact that we are kind of ushering in a brand new era of Star Wars. Why not usher it in together, right? These are going to be brand new characters, brand new timelines, brand new plots and storylines that we've never been exposed to before. So I thought it would be great to go ahead and introduce you guys, if you've been fascinated to even get further into Star Wars than you certainly may already be, why not kind of go down the Star Wars timeline, if you will? And so we are here to go ahead and bring you guys our reviews for the High Republic novels. Again, set 200 years into the Phantom Menace, and we'll definitely be talking about these particular books and really just seeing if you guys certainly want to go ahead and get on board. I just felt like this is a really good opportunity for those that are new to the novels or new to Star Wars in general, a really great launching off point for them to go ahead and jump into the fandom. So I definitely wanted to go ahead and start presenting some reviews for the Star Wars novels, and we have already tackled our first High Republic novel titled The Light of the Jedi. The author is in fact Charles Soule, most notably known, I believe he has dabbled in some novels, but I recognize him from comic books, really working connected with Marvel. I believe he even did like the Darth Vader comic book series for Star Wars and Lucasfilm, if I'm not mistaken, also. So I absolutely loved The Light of the Jedi. We did go ahead and do a review that is on our YouTube page if you want to go ahead and check it out. So even though you may be joining us for this particular video, just understand that when it comes to the High Republic, it is extremely new. As of today, January 31st, there are only I believe there's two novels that are currently out. There's also like a children's book, if I'm not mistaken, but we do have another book that does plan on releasing this week. So we probably will be having a review for you guys in regards to that here within the next week or so. But today, the book that we're going to be tackling is in fact the second book in the High Republic era, and that is in fact titled A Test of Courage. This is in fact written by Justine Ireland, and this is in fact a young adult novel. I don't really dabble too much, honestly, when it comes to young adult novels. I think I believe the only other two that I might have gotten my hands on are both by the incredible author in Claudia Gray in Lost Stars, and I believe she did a Leia book also that I wind up doing, and I believe both of those were young adult novels, but nothing young adult about them at all, and especially when it comes to A Test of Courage in this. I definitely don't mind dabbling in young adult. I feel like it seems like it might be relatable to maybe some younger kids, or just easier reading is kind of how I always considered it, right? Like, can still get to the nitty gritty of a great storyline and great character work, but just kind of told in maybe a simpler dialogue, if you will, just a little simpler reading, to say the least, but still delivering on exactly what they need to. I've never actually read anything by Justine Ireland. This is my first time being introduced to her, even though I am familiar that she has written for prior Star Wars novels and books and things like that in general. So I definitely know she's very familiar with this particular world and galaxy. So, I was really eager to go ahead and go into A Test of Courage, especially after The Light of the Jedi. Talk about a really great way of launching off this era. And I knew that we were going to be getting brand new characters to kind of explore in here. And so I thought that would be really neat to kind of see what we're going to be getting, especially when it comes to the Jedi Knight and Padawan side of things. I did enjoy the fact that while there are maybe a master or two in this book, for the most part, this really is kind of told from a brand new brand newly minted Jedi Knight in Vernestra, who I believe is only 15, or she might have just turned 16 years old. But when she became a Jedi Knight, she was in fact 15. So one of the youngest Padawans to turn into a Jedi Knight in a really long time when it comes to the Jedi Council. So not many people can certainly say that. You know, really off the top of my head, Vernestra and maybe Anakin Skywalker, right, is some of the youngest to actually kind of become a knight at their age. So I thought that was pretty fascinating. And then we get to kind of get explored by a brand new Padawan that we're introduced to in here, in Imri, who does in fact have a Jedi Master when we wind up first meeting them at the beginning of this particular storyline. But so for me, it was really cool to kind of see us taken away from all the combinations of, you know, Jedi Knights and Masters, or Masters kind of doing all the work when it comes to the light of the Jedi. Now we're kind of shining things on, you know, the people maybe just under them a little bit, and how they kind of handle the idea and aspects of being a Jedi when kind of pushed to the limit, if you will, and kind of put into danger. So for me, that was really fascinating to kind of see that explored a little bit also. You know, to me, this also, similar to a lot of the Jedi, has a really great beginning to the series. Not necessarily maybe as immediately impactful as a lot of the Jedi, but within the first like chapter or two, you immediately understand that shit has kind of hit the fan here, and we see just how our Jedi Knights and Padawans certainly have to survive really alone and kind of all by themselves. So I do love the fact that you're immediately kind of put into a threatening situation, and we really kind of see how our Jedi Knights and Padawans kind of make their way through the rest of this story, if you will. You know, the Nihil, when it comes to the villains aspect, I definitely appreciated how they were showcased in a lot of the Jedi just a little bit better. I don't know if it's the case of, because it's a young adult novel, they maybe have to reel in some of the violence, maybe reel in some of the terms that they use, because when I look at the Nihil in this book, they don't quite seem to fit what I had pictured in a lot of the Jedi, whereas they're like this these marauders that just come and just take anything that they absolutely want, you know, that they'll kill you in like the most savage sort of ways in order to get what they need. But when I look at the Nihil in here, it seems like there's some hesitancy about them, right? They're not really ready to just go for your throat. It seems as though they just kind of succumb to being captured, maybe, or being put in terrible positions too easily without really fighting back. More words than actions, I feel like. So if there was maybe any negative aspect towards this book that I had, maybe I didn't think the Nihil lived up to the terms in what I had just read in the very first novel. And there are aspects of this book that tend to drag just a little bit for me. And what I mean by drag is, you know, just the idea of like, you know, them being on the planet, them trying to, you know, find cover, them, you know, trekking through the forest and things like that. Sometimes there are moments, while I do think that there are great character moments within those storyline ideas and a lot of the tracking, right? We do learn a ton about these characters in here, which I'll definitely go into. But if it almost felt like that's what majority of the book was. And I kind of wish that maybe the pacing of the book was a little bit different, maybe throwing in some action sequences here or there, you know, just to kind of break up the monotony of just the characters speaking and things like that. I mean, there are some things that happen, but for the most part, it feels like it can kind of drag at times, even though it does have some really great sort of character development within that time. I just wish that the pacing was maybe handled a little bit better, especially considering the fact that this is a pretty relatively small book. You know, when you go from the Light of the Jedi, like myself, I went I do audiobooks. I've been really getting into audiobooks lately because Lucasfilm really just adds amazing production value. Now, I don't know if that's like for every other audiobook that's not titled Star Wars, but special effects, musical score, a narrator, different voices. I mean, they really go all in when it comes to the audiobooks. So I usually like to just either listen to the audiobook, or I'll do a combination of both, listen to the audio and read along. So when I did The Light of the Jedi, audiobook was like 13 hours. I believe A Test of Courage was only like 4. So it was very easy to kind of sit down, breeze through, if you will. The chapters aren't really very long at all, type of thing. things. So a really short breeze if you're looking just to kind of for a quick introduction into the High Republic. But if you are going for your first book, I would recommend A Light of the Jedi. And then this is a really good sort of companion novel on top of that, if you will. It does seem as though it kind of takes place in the events either right between A Light of the Jedi or right after the Light of the Jedi, if I'm not mistaken. So yeah, so it was an interesting read for me, very breezy. So I did so just based off of how long the book was, I kind of wish that the pacing of it was maybe done just a little bit differently. But I guess maybe they figured since it wasn't going to be a very big book, maybe they didn't have to pace it with another couple of action pieces kind of in the middle, right? It's like beginning, middle, ends, and we're ready to go ahead and wrap it up. But you know, maybe that's just how it is when it comes to young adults. I'm not quite sure, but still an interesting read to say the least. Those are just some of the complaints that I had. Maybe the pacing of the storytelling, and then maybe just the idea of the Nihil maybe not living up to what I kind of expected from them in the previous book. The things that I did enjoy about this definitely harkens on the characters. And for me, honestly, while I appreciated the main character in Vernestra, learning a little bit about her, she is in fact the former Padawan of Stallion Gaios, who's friends and came up with I want to say Elzar Mann and Avar Kriss, the two big Jedi from A Light of the Jedi. So Vernestra definitely comes from Stallion Gaios as his former Padawan. Now we see Vernestra here as a very young Jedi Knight, either 15 or 16 years old. We also get introduced to Imri, who we talked about a little bit. He is, in fact, a Padawan himself. I believe he's only the age of 14 sort of thing. So you can clearly see the idea that he certainly looks up to Vernestra a little bit because of the fact that she's so young when she becomes a Jedi Knight. But at the same regards, it does kind of make him a little bit of the jealous side and kind of questioning his own self and his abilities because of the fact that he is 14 and still a Padawan and feels like he's got a ways to go, if you will. I really enjoyed Imri's story in here. I almost enjoyed the supporting characters more than I did with Vernestra. And it's not to say I don't think they paid enough attention to her. I certainly did. But just the characters that seemed really compelling to me were the ones that I felt were kind of struggling more. Vernestra certainly in this book really has to learn how to be a Jedi Knight, how to take on responsibilities of her own, push herself without her master certainly being there for her. So I clearly see what Vernestra's storyline and arc certainly is for this book. But there's something in the struggle, man. There's something in the struggle of these supporting characters that really fascinate me. Not only do we have Imri as a struggling character, we also have another gentleman by the name of Honest, a young man who comes onto this particular trip in the very beginning with his father. Clearly things wind up happening and he has to kind of really deal with the idea of loss. Him and Imri both have to really deal with the idea of loss. We also have another character in here by the name of Avon, who is a female character who I believe for the most part is either an inventor or an engineer. You know, some people in this book even consider her the idea that she's you know, a genius, that she certainly could be, but she definitely has a rather unique personality to kind of go along with it. It's almost like there's sometimes no filter when it comes to her, and so some of the conversations can be kind of awkward at times. Sometimes she can kind of put her foot in her mouth, if you will, but I think that's what really makes I wouldn't say Avon just really compelling to me. You know, there are little things that she does in this book that make me think that she has ulterior motives to having a bigger story, right? She winds up stealing Imri's lightsaber at one particular point in time in here. She's very curious about the idea of kyber crystals, maybe the idea of kind of harnessing energy, if you will. So yeah, definitely an inspiring inventor, apparently a genius, and onto bigger things in the future. Her fascination with so many things, especially when it comes to kyber crystals, lightsabers, power sources. I'm wondering if she eventually is going to be somebody that invents something that we're very familiar with in the current time that we have seen, whether that be the prequel trilogy, original trilogy, or sequel trilogy. I wonder if she is sort of like, I don't want to say the grandmother or the mother of this particular invention, but I am wondering if she's going to go on to create something that will have a huge impact in the world out there. That's just kind of the vibes that I'm getting. And I feel like I've gotten that from two people, both of them inventors, from one from the Light of the Jedi and here in the Test of Courage. So her storyline definitely fascinates me. But if there is one, the two that really fascinate me the most was in fact Imri and Honesty. There is, for me, the theme of how a child or a young adult deals with the idea of loss and how they grieve, and if they grieve properly, I think is a really big focus in this book. The idea of what loss means, how you handle that particular loss, right? Are you going to let adversity certainly get the best of you? And in Imri's case, you know, the loss of somebody close to him is super impactful for him. So I enjoyed sort of like the teases of pushing a character either towards the dark side or the light side, if you will. Seeing just how everything kind of rolls downhill for some of these characters and how they kind of pick themselves up, if they pick themselves up, right? And so for me, I love that it showcases just really the relationship between a Padawan and his master. You know, despite the fact that Jedi for the most part have, you know, claimed, or at least for as long as we've known it, right, the idea that attachment, you know, there shouldn't be any attachment. One shouldn't know that type of love, if you will. You know, when you look at these relationships between these young Padawans and these masters, the idea of maybe losing somebody close to you at a really young age when you're not mentally sort of prepared for it, I think is sort of like losing your father, losing a loved one. They were clearly there for a majority of your life to help sort of train you to get you where you are. I don't know if it's even possible for a Padawan to not understand what attachment or love truly is, especially when it's kind of taken away from them at a young age, right? Like, it would be different if like it's a master and a Jedi Knight who has a ton of experience, or a master losing one of their masters or something like that, right? Like they've had that time to kind of grow and understand how to handle their emotions. But what happens when it's a young Padawan, 14 years old, that winds up losing their master? How do they handle loss? Are they mentally prepared to kind of fight back against those urges that might lead them towards the dark side, right? And again, I think it just really focuses on the idea of how do you handle adversity, and how do you really handle loss at the end of the day. So I thought that was really important. How impactful is the relationship between a master and his Padawan, or even that of a father and their son? And so I love the fact that we see characters like Imri and Honesty kind of feeding off each other, whether that be positively or negatively. And how does a character like Vernestra, who is a now newly appointed Jedi Knight, how does she kind of handle that situation that she finds herself in when she's alone and she doesn't have her master to kind of talk her through these situations? So really compelling stuff. I really enjoyed the character work that Justina Ireland, the attention to detail in regards to their lives, and really just making those moments out of this book be really impactful for our characters. For me, that's really what I wind up getting out of it. Some okay action pieces at the end, but again, I really do wish that the pacing was a little bit better. But honestly, the character development, the intro to this this book in general, and really just overall was a very positive experience for me. So I would definitely recommend this book, despite my issues with the pacing of it. But still pretty good in my eyes, to be perfectly honest with you. A couple of quick honorable mentions. Vernestra, while not necessarily a character that I'm fully invested in, one of the aspects that I do find fascinating with her is that she has a rather unique lightsaber. Not only is it just a regular lightsaber, but it also changes into a whip lightsaber, or a light whip, if you will. What's fascinating about that is they actually do reference the idea of the Night Sisters, which we have been introduced to from the Clone Wars, if you will. We've seen Asajj Ventress, who comes from the Night Sisters herself also, or at least is she a Night Sister? I can't remember if she's a Night Sister or she just comes from like that culture, if you will. But regardless, they do come from the Clone Wars. But I like the idea that the Night Sisters are even back till 200 years prior to all that. So I'm glad that they wind up getting a name drop in here. And because of the fact that there's a connection between the Light Whip and the Night Sisters, make no mistake that it definitely does kind of open up the question marks in regards to why Vernestra has that lightsaber to begin with, or why she decided to go with that model in the first place, or that's that style, to say the least. So I am wondering what the connections there are, and the fact that she also did not tell her master about this ability that her lightsaber can use. Interesting. And I will say this, because of the fact that she does have this light whip, they've teased the idea of Night Sister, her not even telling her master that she has this ability with her lightsaber. Clearly, it seems as though Vernestra knows that it's wrong and wants to not let many people know about it, right? So she knows that there's going to be question marks about it. So it does make me wonder how susceptible she is if she's willing to lie and not tell people the truth or be open about it. Clearly, it's something she's guilty or ashamed about and hasn't kind of confronted it, right? So I am curious to see if this, and maybe now her brand new attachment to Imri, maybe not necessarily the best sort of combination, but we'll see. And that's one of the things that I love about the High Republic is, what are these characters going to grow up to become? We don't know what their end fate is at the end of the day, how impactful they're going to be in the universe for hundreds of years to come, right? How much of a blip will they make? Will they make a massive one? Will they be forgotten? And I'm really curious to see where these characters go, what kind of decisions that they wind up making, whether they be good or bad. So I'm really fascinated. And just the last honorable mention, they do it does say Republicans set out planet scouters 300 years prior to find places to colonize. So even again, going back to the idea of more happening in this galaxy, even further back, an additional 300 years, which would be 500 years from the prequel trilogy. So definitely a lot, certainly, going on here. But overall, guys, definitely a book I would recommend for sure. I don't think it's as great as the Light of the Jedi, but still very solid entry into the High Republic. Great introduction to the brand new world that we see here, the importance of the Starlight Beacon, the importance of the Jedi, the idea of pushback. Again, when it comes to these novels, they definitely are not holding back. People will die. There are risks to every decision that you wind up making. Heroes will, in fact, rise, make impacts for themselves, and I think A Test of Courage is a really great lead-in to that type of stuff also. So definitely go ahead and check it out if you haven't done so yet. If you have read it, I definitely want to know your thoughts in regards to it in the comment section box below, ladies and gentlemen. And don't worry, we definitely will keep you up to date in regards to all the High Republic reviews that we, or books, I should say, novels that wind up dropping, because we do have ourselves a brand new one coming from Claudia Gray this week. So once I'm done with it, guys, we definitely will go ahead and talk about it. And if you guys want, go ahead and let me know in the comment section if you'd like me to do like a full-on spoiler discussion about the book. I don't know if that means like a Star Wars book club to kind of start or anything like that. I have seen a couple people on YouTube with a couple of Star Wars book clubs that I might try and reach out to see if I can even get on there with them also. But I was just thinking maybe like a half an hour or an hour long spoiler discussion if you guys wanted to certainly talk about the book in further detail. If you guys really want to know the nitty-gritty of what's going on. I was thinking about maybe putting that as like a $1 Patreon tier or something like that. But you guys certainly let me know if you would like a very spoiler-heavy kind of discussion about these novels definitely going forward. But if you want a home for your High Republic news and novel information, this is the place for you, man. Hit that subscribe button, hit that bell notification. Of course, if you love this content, that big thumbs up. Hit that like button for us, guys. But do us a big favor. In the meantime, that's going to be it for us. But if you want to follow us on social media, right here at APlus Opinions, very active over on our Facebook page as well as Twitter, and you can definitely catch us on Instagram as well as Twitch. So until next time, ladies and gentlemen, do us a big favor. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and as always, keep it A+. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.